I spent 3 years building my son a house with my own hands. Custom cabinets, hardwood floors, a wraparound porch with mountain views. When I finished, his wife changed the locks and told me to never come back. She called my craftsmanship old-fashioned and my presence suffocating. 6 months later, I took the house back and sold it for $485,000. When they found out, they threatened to sue me. But that was only the beginning. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The last nail went in on a Tuesday, October. Colorado sky so blue it hurt to look at. I stepped back, wiped sawdust from my hands, and stared at what I'd built. 2 stories, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a kitchen my late wife would have loved. Every board, every beam, every careful joint represented 3 years of my life. My son stood beside me, 42 years old, software engineer, couldn't tell a Phillips head from a flathead if his life depended on it. "Dad, it's perfect." I smiled, felt something warm spread through my chest. This was why I'd done it. This moment, father and son, standing before a house built with love. His wife appeared on the porch, Meredith, thin smile, designer sunglasses pushed up on her head, arms crossed. "Finally finished?" I nodded. "Just need to install the bathroom fixtures tomorrow. Then you can move in." She looked at the house like she was inspecting a hotel room. Not bad, though I still think we should have hired professionals. The warmth in my chest cooled slightly. I am a professional. 43 years as a master carpenter. Built over 200 homes in my career. I meant modern professionals. No offense. My son touched her arm. "Babe, come on. Dad did an amazing job." "I'm just saying." She shrugged. "That porch railing looks a little rustic." It's handcrafted cedar. Traditional joinery. Same technique used in... "I'm sure it's fine." She turned, walked back inside. My house, that she hadn't lifted a finger to build. My son gave me an apologetic look. "She's just stressed about the move." "Sure." We walked through the property. I showed him the irrigation system I'd installed for the garden. The reinforced foundation rated for Colorado winters. The solar panel mounts I'd pre-wired. Every detail planned, executed, perfected. This land had been in our family for 60 years. 20 acres outside Boulder. My father bought it in 1965. I'd planned to build my retirement home here. Instead, when my son said he wanted to raise his kids in the mountains, I gave him 5 acres. Signed the deed over on his 40th birthday. That was the plan, anyway. "Dad, I can't thank you enough." His voice cracked slightly. "After Mom died, I worried about you, alone in that apartment. But seeing you work on this house, having a purpose, I built this for your family, for my grandchildren, so they'd have roots." We hugged, sawdust and sweat, father and son. I thought it was a new beginning. It was an ending I didn't see coming. 3 weeks later, housewarming party, friends, neighbors, my son's co-workers. I stood by the fireplace I'd built from river stones I'd collected myself. Each one chosen, placed, mortared with precision. Meredith gave tours. She'd already redecorated. Modern furniture, abstract art, white everywhere. The warm wood tones I'd selected muted by her choices. My father-in-law built everything, she told guests. Her tone suggested this was an affliction they'd survived. It took forever, but it's functional. Functional. I'd spent 4 months on the staircase alone. Hand-carved balusters, a curved handrail that followed the Fibonacci sequence. Functional. My grandson tugged my sleeve. Marcus, 9 years old, still innocent. "Grandpa, Mom says you're going back to your apartment now." I looked down at him. "Eventually, yes." She said, "You can't stay here anymore, that you've been here too long." I found Meredith in the kitchen. Granite countertops I'd installed. Custom cabinets I'd built from scratch. "Can we talk?" She didn't look up from arranging appetizers. "About what?" "Marcus said something about me leaving." "Well, yes." She finally met my eyes. "The house is done, Walter. You don't need to be here every day anymore. I live 30 miles away. I was thinking I might visit on weekends, see the grandkids. Weekends are family time. I am family, she smiled. Patient, condescending. You know what I mean. Nuclear family, parents and children. We need to establish our own routines without interference. Interference. That's not, she sighed. You're retired. You have your own life. We have ours. Let's maintain healthy boundaries. My son appeared. Everything okay? Your father and I were discussing boundaries. He looked between us, uncomfortable. Dad, maybe we could set up a schedule. Planned visits instead of just dropping by. I built this house. 3 years. Every day. And we appreciate it. His voice careful. But now it's done. Time to move on. I left the party early. Drove back to Boulder. My one-bedroom apartment. The place I'd moved after selling the family home. The home where I'd raised 2 children. Loved one woman for 40 years. Built a life. I sat in the dark. Stared at nothing. My phone rang. My daughter, Ellen, lived in Seattle with her husband. Hey, Dad. How was the party? Fine. That doesn't sound fine. I told her. The conversation. The boundaries. The way Meredith looked at me like I was a stray cat who'd overstayed its welcome. Ellen was quiet for a moment. Dad, I've been worried about this. The way she talks about you when you're not around. She's been complaining to her friends about you for months. Complaining about what? That you're too involved. That you're controlling. That you act like it's your house. I built it. It literally exists because of me. I know. But she doesn't see it that way. She sees it as her house that you won't let go of. I didn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about every nail, every board, every moment of the past 3 years. The arthritis in my hands that flared every morning. The knee surgery I'd postponed because I needed to finish the roof. The quiet evenings alone in my apartment. Dreaming about Sunday dinners with my grandchildren in that kitchen. Functional. The calls stopped first, then the invitations. By December, I hadn't seen my grandchildren in 6 weeks. I drove up to the house on Christmas Eve, had presents in the trunk, hand-carved wooden toys I'd made in my workshop. The driveway had been freshly plowed. I pulled up, saw the lights in the windows, the wreath on the door. The door, I'd hung myself. Solid oak, brass hardware. I knocked. Meredith answered. Red sweater, champagne glass. Her smile froze. Walter, we weren't expecting you. I brought gifts for the kids. She didn't move. We're having a private Christmas this year, just us. I'm their grandfather. I'm aware. She stepped onto the porch, pulled the door closed behind her, lowered her voice. Look, this is awkward for everyone. Brian and I discussed it. We think it's best if you give us some space, at least through the new year. Space from what? From my own family? From your expectations? You built this house, and now you act like you own it, like you have a right to be here whenever you want. I do have a right. I'm his father. Those are my grandchildren. You're also 70 years old. Her voice turned clinical. Maybe it's time to accept that your role has changed. You're not the patriarch anymore. You're a guest in our lives, and guests wait to be invited. I stood there, presents in hand, snow starting to fall, staring at the door I'd hung, the house I'd built, the life I'd created for them. The door closed. Lock clicked. New lock. I noticed it then. Different hardware than what I'd installed. They'd changed the locks. I walked back to my car, drove 30 miles in the dark, spent Christmas Eve alone with a frozen dinner and a photo album. My wife smiled up at me from a picture taken 30 years ago. What would she say about all this? She'd say I was a fool, and she'd be right. January brought lawyers. Not mine. Theirs. A letter arrived. Certified mail. Return address from a Denver law firm. Dear Mr. Walter Hendricks, it began. Our clients, Brian and Meredith Hendricks, have requested that we contact you regarding the property located at 1847 Mountain View Road. Our clients assert that you have been trespassing on their property and harassing their family. This letter serves as formal notice to cease all contact and remain off the premises. Trespassing. On land my father bought. On a house I built. I called my son. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Sent a text. No reply. 2 days later, a second letter. This one claimed I had been making threats and engaging in erratic behavior consistent with cognitive decline. Cognitive decline. I was building custom furniture when these lawyers were in diapers. My neighbor found me in the garage. Frank Morrison, retired accountant, friend for 20 years. Walt, you look terrible. I showed him the letters. He read them slowly. Whistled. They're trying to set something up. This language about cognitive decline. They're building a case. For what? Could be guardianship. Could be restraining order. Could just be leverage. He looked at me. Have you talked to a lawyer? I don't need a lawyer. I just want to see my grandchildren. Walt. He put a hand on my shoulder. You need a lawyer. Beatrice Chen had handled my wife's estate. Sharp mind, sharper tongue. Her office smelled like coffee and old books. Let me get this straight. She read through my papers. You gave your son 5 acres of land worth roughly $200,000, then spent 3 years and approximately $180,000 in materials building a house on that land. Now they're claiming you're trespassing and mentally unstable. That's the situation. Do you have documentation, receipts, contracts? I pulled out a thick folder. Every receipt, every permit application, every material purchase. 43 years as a contractor. I documented everything. She flipped through. Impressive. And the deed transfer? I froze. The deed transfer to your son. For the land? I signed papers on his birthday. 2 years ago. Do you have copies? I assumed it was filed. Assumed. My lawyer friend said he'd handle it. Brian's godfather. He said it was a birthday gift. She set down the folder. Walter, please tell me the deed was actually transferred. We checked. County records, legal filings, property database. Nothing. The land at 1,847 Mountain View Road was still registered to Walter James Hendricks. The deed transfer had never been filed, never been completed. The house I built for my son was sitting on my land. Legally, it was my property. All of it. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt sick. Beatrice leaned back. This changes everything. I didn't mean for this to happen. It was supposed to be a gift. Intentions don't matter legally. What matters is what's on paper. She pulled up something on her computer. Your son has been living in your house, on your land. Without rent, without a lease. For 8 months. I wasn't keeping track. The county was. She turned the screen toward me. Property taxes on that address. Who's been paying? I looked. My name, my bank account. Automatic payments I'd set up years ago and never changed. You've been paying taxes on property you built for someone who won't let you visit. I stared at the numbers. $12,847 in property taxes over the past 2 years, plus $180,000 in construction materials, plus 3 years of labor, plus the land itself. What are my options? Legally? She smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. You could evict them. Evict my own son? They're living in your property without permission, without lease, without payment. In most jurisdictions, they're trespassers. She paused, which is ironic, given their letter accusing you of trespassing. I don't want to evict them. I want to see my grandchildren. Sometimes, Walter, you can't have both. What do you actually want? I thought about it. The house, the family dinners I'd imagined, the grandchildren I never saw, the door closing in my face on Christmas Eve. What I want, I said slowly, is for them to understand what they threw away. Now we're talking. She pulled out a legal pad. Let's discuss strategy. February. Snow still thick on the mountains. I drove up to the property with a surveyor, a photographer, and a county inspector. All legitimate, all documented. Meredith came out screaming before we'd even parked. What are you doing here? I'm calling the police. Please do. I stayed calm. Beatrice is coaching. I'd like them to document that I'm conducting a legal property inspection on land I own. You don't own anything. This is our house. The surveyor began marking boundaries. The photographer documented the structure. The inspector checked his clipboard. Ma'am, I'm just doing my job. The inspector showed his badge. Property inspection. Standard procedure. My son appeared, pale, confused. Dad, what's going on? I'm inspecting my property. Your property? This is our home. No. I kept my voice level. 3 years of anger compressed into calm. This is my land. That's my house. I built it. I paid for it. I own it. We had an agreement. We had a conversation. The deed was never transferred. Check the county records. His face changed. Confusion shifting to something darker. You planned this. This whole time, you planned to hold it over us. I planned to give you a home. I planned to be part of your family. I planned to watch my grandchildren grow up. You planned to lock me out. Meredith's phone was pressed to her ear. Yes, police. There are trespassers on my property. The police came. 2 officers. Patient, professional. Let me understand. The older one looked between us. Sir, you're claiming to own this property? I showed him the deed. The tax records. The permits filed in my name. He looked at Meredith. Ma'am, do you have documentation showing ownership? We live here. We've lived here for 8 months. That's not what I asked. The officers left without making arrests. Told us to sort it out in civil court. Told Meredith she might want to consult a lawyer. She did. They filed an adverse possession claim within a week. Claimed they'd been living on the property openly and continuously. Claimed I'd abandoned my rights by giving them permission to live there. Beatrice laughed when she saw the filing. Adverse possession requires hostile occupation. You literally built them a house. That's the opposite of hostile. Plus, the time requirement in Colorado is 18 years. They've been there 8 months. So what happens now? Now we respond. And we escalate. I didn't want to escalate. Every night, I thought about Marcus. About his little sister Emma, 7 years old. Did they know what was happening? Did they think Grandpa had abandoned them? I found a letter I'd started to Marcus. Never finished, never sent. Dear Marcus, I hope you're enjoying the house. I miss our talks about dinosaurs. The hidden compartment I built in your closet, the one that looks like a bookshelf, has a surprise waiting for you. When you're old enough to read this, I crumpled it, started over, crumpled again. Some things can't be explained to a 9-year-old. March brought discoveries. My lawyer hired an investigator. Nothing dramatic, just public records, searches, social media monitoring, standard due diligence. The findings arrived on a Thursday. They're planning to sell. Beatrice spread printouts across her desk. Your daughter-in-law has been contacting real estate agents, getting valuations. She's telling them the property is worth $500,000. They can't sell my property. They can try. And if you hadn't checked the deed, they might have succeeded. Some buyers don't do proper title searches. But there's more. She slid another paper across. Credit card debt, $47,000 across 4 cards, most of it in your daughter-in-law's name, plus a personal loan for $28,000. I stared. They're in debt? Significant debt. Your son's job has been unstable. Layoffs, contract positions. Nothing steady for 2 years. He never told me. Would you have helped if he had? I thought about it. 3 years ago, yes, without question. Now? Probably. That's the hell of it. I probably still would. There's more. She pulled out photos. Printed from social media. Your daughter-in-law's Instagram. Vacation in Cabo last month. New car in December. Designer clothes in almost every photo. I looked at the pictures. Smiling faces. Expensive backgrounds. My grandchildren playing on a Mexican beach while I ate Christmas dinner alone. They couldn't afford this. No, they couldn't. But your property, without a mortgage, gave them equity. They've been using it as collateral for credit. Against my house, your house, on your land, built with your hands and your money. Yes. I stood, walked to her window. Denver spread out below. Anonymous buildings, anonymous lives, anonymous families loving and betraying each other in ways no one would ever know. What would happen if I sold it? Beatrice was quiet for a moment. You'd need to evict them first. Then you could list the property, based on current values. She did calculations. Conservative estimate, $475,000 to $500,000. $500,000. For the house I built for my son. For the life I tried to give him. For the family that locked me out. Do it. The eviction notice arrived at 1847 Mountain View Road on March 15th. Ides of March. Appropriate. My son called that night. First time in 3 months. Dad, please. His voice broke. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know. This is my family's home. Our children live here. Your children live in my house. Have for 8 months, without permission, without payment. We're family, are we? I wasn't sure anymore. Family visits on Christmas. Family answers, phone calls. Family doesn't hire lawyers to claim their father is mentally unstable. That was Meredith's idea. And you let her. You signed off on it. You could have stopped it at any point. You didn't. Silence stretched across the line. Dad, I was wrong. I know that. But please, give us more time. I've given you 3 years of my life. 3 years I'll never get back. 3 years of waking up every morning with purpose, believing I was building something meaningful, something lasting. You know what I got in return? I didn't answer. He did. Nothing, he said quietly. You got nothing, not nothing. I got clarity. That's something. I hung up, stared at the phone. Didn't call back. They fought the eviction. Filed motions. Claimed hardship. Claimed I was mentally incapacitated and shouldn't be making legal decisions. Beatrice loved that last part. They're claiming you're mentally incompetent. The same man who single-handedly built a 2-story house to code, who passed every inspection, who documented every decision. We requested a competency evaluation. I passed so thoroughly, the evaluator asked if I wanted to mentor other seniors in estate planning. Their lawyer withdrew the mental competency claim. The eviction proceeded. April 30th, court date, small courtroom. Judge Margaret Wells, gray hair, no-nonsense glasses. I sat on one side with Beatrice. My son and Meredith sat on the other with their attorney. A young guy, expensive suit, nervous. Your Honor, the plaintiff owns the property in question. There is no lease, no rental agreement, no documented permission to occupy. The defendants are, legally speaking, trespassers. Their lawyer stood. Your Honor, my clients have been living in this home in good faith. The plaintiff gave them permission. This is a family dispute being weaponized through legal channels. Judge Wells looked at the papers. Mr. Hendricks, the elder. You built this house? Yes, Your Honor. Over 3 years. I can provide documentation of every... I've seen the permits. Impressive work for a man your age. Thank you. And you intended to give this property to your son? I intended many things. What matters is what I documented. She studied me, then my son, then back at me. The property was never legally transferred. Mr. Hendricks Sr. has paid all taxes. All permits are in his name. There is no evidence of a lease or rental agreement. She turned to my son. Did you pay rent? No, Your Honor. I didn't think. Did you contribute to property taxes? No. Insurance? No. Any documented agreement establishing your right to occupy this property? He looked at me, helpless, lost. For a moment, he was 8 years old again, coming to me after breaking the neighbor's window. My son shook his head. Judge Wells removed her glasses. I'm ordering the defendants to vacate the property within 60 days. The plaintiff retains full ownership and rights. 60 days. Not the 30 Beatrice had asked for. Small mercy. I didn't feel merciful. My son found me outside the courtroom. Meredith was on her phone, already calling someone. Dad, please. I kept walking. I'm sorry. Everything Meredith said, everything she did, I should have stopped it. I was weak. I turned, looked at my son, the boy I'd raised, the man he'd become. You weren't weak. You were complicit. There's a difference. What can I do? Nothing. There's nothing left to do. So that's it? 42 years of being your son? And it ends like this? I thought about that Christmas Eve. The door closing. The lock clicking. The presents in my trunk that I ended up donating to charity. It ended, I said, when you let your wife treat me like a stranger. Everything since then is just paperwork. I walked away. Didn't look back. But I heard him, standing alone outside the courthouse. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." I kept walking. The house sold in June, $485,000. Cash offer from a developer. They were going to tear it down, build something modern. Glass and steel, no character. I didn't care. Beatrice handled the closing. I signed documents without looking at the property one last time. Couldn't face it. 3 years of work, every nail, every board, every decision. Gone. The money sat in my account. Abstract numbers. I didn't feel rich. I felt empty. My son moved his family to a rental in Aurora. 3 bedrooms, decent neighborhood. Meredith's parents helped with the deposit. I heard this from Ellen. "He's devastated," she said during our weekly call. "But Dad, honestly, I think this might save his marriage. Meredith's starting to realize she can't control everything. Should I care about saving his marriage? I don't know. Should you?" I thought about Marcus, about Emma, about birthdays and holidays and all the moments I'd miss. Maybe not caring is what got us here, all of us. July brought a letter, not from a lawyer this time, handwritten, my son's handwriting. "Dad, I don't expect you to read this. I wouldn't blame you for throwing it away. But I need to say some things, even if they disappear into a trash can. I was wrong. Not just about the house, but about everything. Meredith made it easy to push you away, but I let her. I chose comfort over family. I chose easy over right. You built us a home, a real home. Every morning, I'd walk through that house and see your hands in everything. The way the cabinets closed perfectly. The hidden shelf you made for Marcus. The reading nook for Emma. You built love into that house, and I let Meredith convince me it was something to be ashamed of. I'm in therapy now. Not because of the house, but because of who I became. The man who could look his father in the eye and let someone change the locks. That's not who I want to be. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know that I understand now. What you built for us. What we threw away. The kids ask about you. I don't know what to tell them. The truth feels impossible. Lies feel worse. I'm sorry, Dad, for everything. Brian. I read it 3 times, folded it carefully, put it in my desk drawer. Didn't respond. Not yet. Some wounds need time. August. I donated most of the money. Children's hospital, local trade school, a scholarship fund for students studying carpentry. Kept enough to live comfortably, buy tools, start a new project. Frank Morrison found me in my garage one morning. I was building something. What's that going to be? Rocking chair. For my grandson. I thought you weren't speaking to them. I'm not. But Marcus will be 10 next month. Kid should have something his grandfather made. Frank watched me work. Same techniques. Same precision. Same love for the craft. You're a complicated man, Walt. Aren't we all? The chair turned out perfect. Mission style. Oak. Built to last generations. I didn't deliver it myself. Asked Ellen to take it when she visited from Seattle. She called me after. Dad, Marcus loves it. He keeps sitting in it and telling everyone his grandpa made it. What did Brian say? He cried. Ellen's voice was soft. I don't think I've ever seen him cry before. Good. Good? Good that he can feel something. Good that he's not completely lost. Are you going to see him? I looked around my garage, my tools, my projects, my life, smaller now, but still mine. Maybe. Not yet, but maybe. What are you waiting for? I thought about it. The anger was still there, the betrayal, the hurt, but something else was growing underneath, something that felt like possibility. I'm waiting, I said finally, to remember that he's still my son. Even after everything, he's still my son. I ended the call, went back to work. Christmas Eve came around again. 1 year since the locked door. 1 year since the presents in my trunk. 1 year since everything changed. A knock on my apartment door. 8 o'clock. I opened it. Marcus stood there, holding his little sister's hand, both in their winter coats, both looking up at me with eyes I recognized from 40 years ago. Behind them, my son, thin, tired, scared. We wanted to see you, Marcus said. Dad said we had to ask first. Can we come in? I looked at Brian. He didn't say anything, just stood there, waiting for judgment. I thought about justice, about fairness, about all the ways he'd failed me. Then I thought about forgiveness, not because he deserved it, not because I was ready, but because these two children at my door hadn't done anything wrong, and they missed their grandfather. Come in. I stepped aside. I just made cookies. Marcus's face lit up. The good kind? Is there another kind? They came in, all three of them, awkward, uncertain. But there, Brian stopped at the door. Dad, Later, I held up a hand. Right now, there are cookies. We can figure out the rest later. He nodded, tears in his eyes. Okay, we didn't figure it out that night, or the next week, or the next month, but we started. Some stories end with justice, some end with forgiveness. Mine ended with both, tangled together, imperfect and complicated and human. I'm 71 now. My son visits every Sunday, brings the kids. We're rebuilding something, not a house this time, something harder, trust. The land where I built that house, the developer built a glass box on it, modern, cold, soulless. Sometimes I drive by, just to look. I don't feel angry anymore. Don't feel sad. I feel grateful, actually. Grateful that my son found his way back. Grateful that my grandchildren know my face, my voice, my hands. Grateful that when they're my age, they'll remember the grandfather who built them things, who fought for them, who, in the end, chose love over righteousness. That's worth more than any house. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your own stories in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box to the left. Thank you for watching.